On tonight's episode of Mr. Norris's In Case You Missed It, we look at the era of westward expansion with Manifest Destiny, the Louisiana Purchase, and the journey of Lewis and Clark. Hey, hi, hello, and what is up, everybody? It's your host, Mr. Norris, the history teacher with the good hair. And tonight we're going to be talking about a multitude of different topics, including westward expansion, Manifest Destiny, Louisiana Purchase, and of course, Lewis and Clark. Can't forget them. All right, let's start with the topic of Manifest Destiny, because in this chapter that we're going to be exploring in class, and then I'll be making a bunch of videos on, we're going to be talking about westward expansion, and Manifest Destiny kind of explains and highlights all that goes into westward expansion. What is Manifest Destiny? Well, in the decades of the 1820s, 1830s, 1840s, it was a popular belief in the United States that it was America's right and destiny to conquer Western lands and add them to the United States and to extend itself all the way to the Pacific Ocean. People at the time believed not only was this America's destiny and right, it's what God wanted them to do. God wanted them to spread out their democracy and their beliefs across the continent. This phrase was coined by a reporter named John L. O'Sullivan in 1845. And even though some of the events of westward expansion, Manifest Destiny, if you will, take place before that, when that phrase comes out, it really embodies the time period and its thoughts. Manifest Destiny is best explained by the painting American Progress made by John Gast. And it has a deep understanding, but it basically outlines everything that goes into Manifest Destiny. You see Eastern American white settlers moving west, and they're obviously going out there to settle. And they're bringing with them things like God and knowledge and technology and civilization. You can see the angel hovering with them to signify that they're bringing religion and God. You can see that in her hand, she's holding a book, which if you zoom in says school book. She's holding power lines, signifying technology. And it was a belief at the time that these settlers were bringing all this stuff with them. They were coming from an enlightened place to a darker place. They're bringing all these things with them, and they deserve to take this land from people that aren't quite as good as them. And you can see that represented by the Native Americans on the left here. Manifest Destiny signifies some of the best and worst aspects of American society. Best being that frontier spirit that Americans have, that if you put anything in front of them, they'll be able to conquer it. And, challenge accepted kind of idea, like we can take that. So that's a good thing. But also some of the bad things are there are tads of racial injustice here. A thought process in those decades being that these settlers from the East Coast of the United States were better than the people they were taking land from, whether it be natives or Mexicans, which we'll talk about down the line. And they justify this by saying that God was with them, which I don't know if that's not exactly true. But again, that's what people at the time believed. Okay, so there you have it. That's Manifest Destiny. And that's going to be the ongoing driving viewpoint, opinion, if you will, for the American people that drives them in these decades. Manifest Destiny and the era of westward expansion really begins with the Louisiana Purchase, though, in 1803. We got to go back in time a little bit when President Jefferson buys the Louisiana Territory from France. French settlers had been moving into the Louisiana Territory once it got back into the control of France under Napoleon Bonaparte. Oui. They're moving there, and farmers in the southeastern United States, what they used to do is they'd grow crops. They'd send them down the Mississippi River to New Orleans, a port city where they can be sent all over the world, either to the East Coast of the United States or to Europe or somewhere else for sales. They were worried that now that French farmers are moving into the Louisiana Territory on the other side of the Mississippi River, they might try to claim control of the Mississippi River and claim control of the port of New Orleans. And that would very much hurt American businesses. To try to combat this, President Jefferson decides to offer France or decides to try and buy New Orleans from France. That's what I was trying to say. And what he does is he sends his Secretary of State, James Monroe, to France as an ambassador in 1803 to make an offer. The original offer that was supposed to be made by Mr. Monroe was $7.5 million for the port of New Orleans. Now, when he gets there, a little bit to his surprise, France actually offers him all of the Louisiana Territory for double the price, $15 million. Why would France do that? Well, they had just lost Haiti due to a slave revolt for nothing. So they didn't want to lose potentially in the future another piece of land for nothing. They're also currently engaged in the Napoleonic Wars, and they need money to fight countries like Great Britain. So this sale will definitely help them in that regards. Well, James Monroe is in quite a predicament here. He's been given permission to buy New Orleans for $7.5 million, but not spend $15 million for all of the Louisiana territory. What does James Monroe decide to do? Well, he has to make his own decision. This is before the age of communication. He can't just pick up the phone and say, yo, TJ, what do you think? All this territory for $15 million? He can't do it. James Monroe decides, though, he agrees to the deal. I will purchase, or the United States will purchase, all of Louisiana territory for $15 million. And James Monroe, you can say, is a dangerous man with a pocket full of money. Keep up. Okay, I'll stop. But yeah, he makes this deal, and when he comes back home, he's like, hey, Jefferson, guess what I did? Bought all of the Louisiana territory, spent double the money. He told me I could. But Jefferson is in support of this. He thinks that Monroe made a good move there. He wants to see more land for the United States. He wants to see American settlers and farmers spread out in an agricultural based economy, an agrarian type of economy. So he's all for this move. He's on board. Now, once they buy the Louisiana territory, you got to remember that really no Americans had been out there. So nobody really knew what was out there. There were actually rumors at the time that inside the Louisiana territory, there were still woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and lions and bears. Oh my. Little Wizard of Oz reference there. So what Jefferson decides to do is create a commission to send out into the Louisiana territory and explore. One of his closest aides was a man named Meriwether Lewis, who was a captain in the Army. And he puts him in charge of an expedition that is going to leave from right around the St. Louis area of what becomes Missouri and explore this Louisiana territory. Meriwether Lewis selects William Clark to kind of be his co-captain and closest advisor on this expedition. And they recruit about 45 to 50 other men who are skilled outdoorsmen. They have a very particular set of skills that will help them with this expedition, whether they're good at making fires or good at figuring out what plants to eat, or they're good hunters. You get the point. All of them had a specific skill that would definitely aid this expedition. Lewis and Clark and their group of about 50 frontiersmen become known as the Corps of Discovery. And they leave from about St. Louis, or the area around St. Louis, what becomes St. Louis, Missouri, in 1804. Now, they have a certain set of goals that they hope to accomplish on this expedition. Number one, they hope to find a northwest passage that leads from the middle of the country to the Pacific Ocean, and they hope that this is an all-water route. They also hope to establish friendly relationships with Native Americans that they come across. They also hope to catalog new plants and animals that they might find and discover, as well as map up this Western territory so that future Americans that are going out there to settle know exactly what they're in for. Well, their journey is pretty arduous. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I could literally make a 40-minute video if I really wanted to. But they mostly travel on the Missouri River west, going upstream or against current the whole way, which is really difficult to do. When they find the source of the Missouri River, they're kind of pretty sure that it's close to the Pacific Ocean, that its source is probably the runoff from a mountain close to the Pacific Ocean. And they're wrong. The source is actually the runoff from the Rocky Mountains, and they realize that they are not even remotely close. Along the way, they recruit a young 16-year-old member of the Shoshone tribe, or former member of the Shoshone tribe, Sacagawea, to assist them. Now, Sacagawea was recruited with her husband, and basically her main purpose on the expedition was to help them translate when they met Native Americans. She really came in handy because a few different times Native American groups saw Lewis and Clark and their men and were like, kill these guys. And Sacagawea was like, no, they're cool. They're with me. I don't know if that's exactly how that conversation went down, but that's pretty much what happened. She served as a translator, but she also helped as far as guiding them, again, pointing out things that they should and should not eat, and just being like a general assistance to the whole Corps of Discovery. So she really is fundamental in their success. They reached the Rocky Mountains. And by the way, Sacagawea was 16 years old and pregnant for some of the journey and gave birth during the journey and had to take care of a child during the journey. So yeah, kids out there watching, next time your parents ask you to do the dishes or fold your laundry, don't give them any attitude, because Sacagawea was 16 years old and pregnant and caring for a child and walked across the Rocky Mountains. So you can fold your laundry. There, I said it. Deal with it. Okay. They crossed the Rocky Mountains. And again, all the way, they're mapping out the land, cataloging new plants and animals. Little side story, they actually sent a prairie dog home for Thomas Jefferson as a present. Thank you very much. Wonder what he named it. They reach the Pacific Ocean in 1805, and they don't make it all the way back to St. Louis, Missouri until a little under 2.5 years later in 1806. they were gone for so long that the average person in American society were like, oh yeah, they're dead. Yeah, no. Yeah, they've been gone forever. They're dead. But they weren't, of course. They come back and actually only had one death on their journey, which for the times and what they accomplished is pretty impressive. They traversed over 8,000 miles traveling west and really kickstarted this era of westward expansion, people moving out to the west, mapping out areas and letting people know exactly what's out there. And that assisted in the United States' great era of westward expansion. So there you have it. There's Manifest Destiny. There's Louisiana Purchase. There's Lewis and Clark. Bam! From here, we're going to add territories like Texas and Oregon. We'll fight a whole war with Mexico and add some more territory. So stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of good stuff there. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would be just fine. Remember that history is life. And in the words of George Washington, the surest basis for public happiness is knowledge. So go out there and get some. Have a good night, everybody.